National. We're talking about 1st of May in Iran. We are here with Bahram Soroush, who is the WPI's Labour Solidarity Committee member. And we have just talked about what is 1st of May in Iran and what it is not. Already some unions have issued a charter with key demands for workers in Iran for this 1st of May. Now what we're going to talk about is actually 1st of May workers' movement in relation to the economic situation at the moment in Iran. Bahram, we've heard that recently the Ahmadinejad has suggested that the 100 billion of subsidies of every year that the Iranian government is paying for things like bread, they want to cut it. And Ahmadinejad suggested a 40 billion cut, and the parliament only approved 20 billion.
As the initial stage of it, actually.
Yes, they want to, it looks like they want to get rid of any subsidies because, I don't know, they think probably people in Iran have enough money to pay for all of this, which they clearly have not. As we just heard, the minimum wage has been set by the government of 3 times below the official poverty line in Iran.
And also bearing in mind that the inflation rate is between 20, 25 and 30% annually, and the minimum wage, actually the declared minimum wage in Iran is a reduction in the real wage of people. So what's this sort of background? How does this fit in with the 1st May?
Well, you see, the government is in a deep economic crisis, so they have been talking about carrying out these austerity plans, cutting all the subsidies for years now. And so what they're doing now is like a declaration of war to the workers, because you mentioned the inflation rate. The inflation rate is going to rocket with the abolition of all the subsidies. So a lot of people thought that they may not dare to carry it out. And we still have to see whether they do it or not. But these are their plans. But if they do, this is a real declaration of war to workers, that, you know, real confrontation. Because, and for that reason, even their own economists, even their own advisors are anticipating, warning them that next year is going to be a year of workers' struggles. They will not accept it. You know, the people in Iran will not accept it, the working people will not accept it. So this is the main issue now going on in Iran. But Ahmadinejad's, or the Khamenei, you know, the Islamic regime's government depends on resolving its economic crisis. But we will see what happens. And the minimum wage, which you mentioned, about $300 per month, hasn't even taken into account. Even with the present rate of inflation, it is 1/3 of the minimum wage, and the workers have not accepted it. So, but you can imagine what is going to happen if they cut the subsidies as well. So they are trying to put a huge burden on the working class in Iran, on the working people in Iran. But what is provides, you know, sort of some hope for challenge is the last year's tremendous revolutionary struggles that started in Iran since June, and we are still in the context of that. So I think the workers are preparing themselves for that, you know, for a huge confrontation. One of the weaknesses has been that the right to freely organize in Iran, the right to strike, has never been accepted. So you don't have a huge number of unions, a huge number of labor organizations who can resist that. But I think maybe in this context of this confrontation, huge main showdown, that we will see the networks of workers coming forward with more organizations. And last year, 10 independent labor unions, they jointly issued a statement for the 1st of May in order to resist with their main demands. And we are hoping that a similar thing will happen. And as far as the WPI is concerned, WPI is preparing for 1st of May, both in Iran and abroad, to highlight these issues within the context of these austerity measures.
WPI has just issued a statement for 1st of May. Can you briefly talk about that?
Well, the statement is actually requesting the trade unions around the world, labor organizations, to declare the solidarity with the people in Iran. And what better day to declare that solidarity than on May Day, which is an international day and it's Workers' Day, to come out and make the issue of solidarity with the people in Iran, the workers in Iran, one of the themes of those demonstrations, one of the themes of those events, because there's a direct connection between what's going on in Iran and the fate of workers' struggles around the world, people's struggles. I mean, in Iran, people are fighting to pull down one of the most repressive, brutal, anti-labor, inhuman regimes, which is the representative of the political Islamic movement, Islamic terrorism. So that movement's fate, whether that is successful, the revolution in Iran, has a direct implication and consequence for what happens to civil rights and workers' rights in the entire Middle East, and by consequence, indirectly, for people around the world. So in that sense, the request of WPI is to take the issue of solidarity with the revolution of the people of Iran, with the workers' movement in Iran, to the May Day events. And WPI will be taking a very active part in all these demonstrations around the world.
Last year, Bahram, you were part of the organizer of protests at the International Labour Organization conference, annual conference, demanding that the Islamic regime be kicked out of ILO. And you've also mentioned you would be asking trade unions and organisers of the International May Day to make one of the themes of the International Labour Day celebration and demonstration this condition of the situation and solidarity with the workers in Iran. What other specific things are you asking the trade unions to do? Because historically trade unions have organised, for example, in the last year, during the last year, they organised International Solidarity Day of action in support of the leader of the bus unions, Osanlus, and that demanded his freedom from prison. So there is already a sort of tradition and history of international labour solidarity with the working class in Iran. Specifically this year, what else is WPI is asking the international labour organisations to do?
In essence, it's a continuation of that. That solidarity which has been magnificent, which is unprecedented, that the entire labour movement has held one day, special days of support with the workers in Iran for the release of the jailed workers. And at the moment, specifically, two members of the leadership of the Bus Workers Union, Mansour Osanlu and Ibrahim Madadi, are in prison. Ali Nejati is the head of the sugarcane workers. He's in prison. And also two teachers, labor activists, one of them labor activists, and one of them who was arrested in the recent demonstrations, they are under sentences of death. So, and a lot of other workers get summoned regularly to come to the court. They're detained and they're released. A lot of them have lost their jobs, and some of them, for example, Bus Workers Union, who took a huge, magnificent strike in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, who were arrested. Some of them lost their jobs, and after many years of following through the courts, a few of them have been able to come back. A lot of them still not been able to come back to work. So what the government does is cut the pressure, and fire them, and also put them in prison. So it's a very difficult struggle. So that's one of the issues, to continue to ask for the release of the jailed workers in Iran, and for all the other political prisoners in Iran. It's because that's very much connected in Iran. It's not just a welfare issue in Iran. You're not just fighting for economic issues, which is extremely important in itself.
Okay.
So and expulsion from the ILO, that's one of the other key issues.
Okay, I mean, thank you very much to Bahram Soroush. This brings us to the end of our program. We'll be continuing the theme of 1st of May in international TV. We'll be back briefly to discuss the situation of Jamal campaign in a moment. This is Faribos Puya.
And Patty de Bonitas.
Stay with us, we'll be back in a moment.